And we're back on the Fowler Show. House Majority Whip Steve Scalise has been upgraded to fair condition a week after the shooting at the congressional baseball practice that left him wounded. MedStar Washington Hospital Center reported that Scalise's condition is making good progress and now is beginning to extend to extended periods of healing and rehabilitation. Scalise has been upgraded to severe condition last week, 4 days after he was shot in the hip by a gunman in Alexandria, Virginia. He has been in critical conditions for several days prior to his improvement. James T. Hodgkins, the Alexandria shooter, was killed in a police shootout following the attack. According to the FBI, after leaving his home in Illinois, Hodgkins spent weeks hanging out around the YMCA near the baseball field where he shot Republican congressmen and staffers. Authorities found a note on him with the name of different Republican congressmen that he was trying to shoot, including Majority Whip Steve Scalise. Now, this is an interesting story that I've been following quite a bit. And you know what and I said this on The Real Story with Martha McCallum last week. People around this country, we are definitely a divided country, America. There's no questions about it. But people really don't understand how Washington works, right? So people think when we go on cable news and we yell at each other that we actually hate each other. And it's very rare that I hate my conservative colleagues that I yell at on TV. Our job is to yell and talk about differences in policies. But that difference in policy doesn't mean we don't all love our country. And I think that's been part of the problem that we have in the United States today, right? What you hear is if you're the far left, you're unpatriotic, you're un-American, you don't love this country, and the far right has taken ownership of the American flag. We're all Americans, whether you're Democrat, whether you're Republican, whether you're Green Party, whether you're a Birdie bot, or you're a Trumpian. We are all Americans. And when you have shootings like this, even though this guy was influenced by the left-wing media, so they say, tomorrow, it could be a guy influenced by the right-wing media, and he can engage in the same type of behavior. And before we run to have this conversation or debate the guns issue, which I think is an issue that we can debate, seeing that this individual both outmatched all the police officers that were there, right? He shot 60 shots without reloading, and then pulled out a pistol and continued to shoot. We must ask ourselves this one question. Is the divisions in this country making it so hostile that we can't get along because of how we view, because of our political views? And the answer to that question right now, sadly, is a very, very sad yes. Washington used to be a place where we could get things done. People would work across the aisles. State capitals used to be places where people could get things done and we could work across the aisle. Now we live in a world where if your party's in control, the other party is doomed and damned, and so are their policies, and so are the people that they support. We have got to do better as a country, America, and it's not just a Democrat or Republican problem, even though Donald Trump is the biggest eyesore in said problem. And you don't have to go far to see it. When the president makes comments about calling Mexicans rapists and saying that they steal or saying that lie, when he picks on members of Congress like he did this past week when he says crying Schumer and Nancy P and lying Ted and little Marco, that type of cyberbullying leads to what we saw happen with Steve Scalise. But he's not alone. Let me be very clear. Because when we go after Donald Trump and we say we hate him and we say he's not our president and we say that he's a big orange machine and we make all of these comments about him, Melania, his son, we engage in that same type of behavior from the left. Remember, I don't like any of Donald Trump's policies. I could probably name all of his policies I like on one hand. It doesn't mean that I hate Donald Trump as a person. And it doesn't mean I disrespect the office of President of the United States. So to progressives out there, when we got mad at liberals for disrespecting President Obama, we should be mad at liberals also for disrespecting President Donald Trump. Because the key word here is president. I don't like him. I'm not happy about it. But he is the President of the United States. And do I disagree with his policies? Vehemently. But do I respect his office? I absolutely do. Now, do I respect what he says about others? Do I think he's a cyber bully? I do think all of that. But we as a country have really got to find a way to come together and create a level of civility so we can get things done. We have now created, thanks to some misguided politicians and people being able to move where the hell they want, is you have these conclaves of liberalism and conservatism, and they rarely ever mix. Just think about it for just a second. You take any major city and you have the little pockets of like, oh, that's the Republican part of the city. Here's where the liberals live. And the liberals move in together and they live together because they want their Whole Foods, their dog parks, and their bike lanes. And Republicans live together because they want their shooting ranges, their farms, and the deer so they could, and roads and roads and roads so they can drive freely and burn gas. But what can we do as a country to come together? There's more that unites us than divides us, folks. Because whether you live in the conservative America, quote unquote, or the liberal America, you have the same concerns. You want your kids, you're concerned about your kids' education, you're concerned about paying your bills, and you're concerned about having a good job. And we all have the same aspirations. Some of us don't aspire to be doctors, lawyers, nurses, or president of the United States. We just want to be okay. We want our kids to be okay. We want our daughter to be a princess for a day on her wedding. We want to be able to pay the rent. And if we can agree on that, then let's find a way to work together.